our friends can join us. So good morning, everyone. My name is Ana Ferreras. I am the SNAP nutritionist from the Hispanic Health Council. And here I have my coworker.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yesenia Tucios. I'm a SNAP and nutrition educator for PANA program at the Hispanic Health Council.
So welcome back to Eating Smart Being Active. In our last lesson, we learned how to include more fruits and vegetables in our diet and why it is important to make half our plate fruit and vegetables, okay? So how many of you so far also have tried the exercise link that we have been sharing? Also try that as a goal every day. Those exercises are created from Quinnipiac student from the Doctor of Physical Therapy program. So it's very worthy to try, especially also for seniors as well and adults. They do version standing and sitting. So I encourage you to try the exercise. So welcome back one more time.
Awesome. So let's just kick off with a little icebreaker, and we definitely encourage our participants to comment in the chat box. What were some goals that you were able to reach since we last met? Remember that the last lesson we had, we talked about making half of our plates fruits and vegetables. So we definitely want to hear from you. What was a goal that you were able to reach? Anna, let's start with you. What was a goal that you were able to reach since the last time that we met?
Okay, so far I have continued doing, the fruits are the main snack from in my diet. So and also I'm going to try to increase the dark green vegetable. So any one of you also can share with us. Welcome Minky and Cuevia, welcome. And Nedis, welcome. So any one of you also share with us.
Yep, and we also see Tatiana. Welcome. From my part, Anna, something that I was able to try since we last met, I was able to incorporate some vegetables in my pasta sauce, and my kids didn't even notice. They didn't even say.
Excellent. Excellent, good.
All right. So, my friends, just remember that we are going to be setting goals in each lesson related to what we're learning. Sometimes you're going to achieve those goals, and other times you may not. But it's just important to revisit your goals and just try and try again.
Excellent. So you know what? Today's lesson is about grain food and how to choose whole grains.
Sorry. All right. So, yes, definitely. Grain foods are made from seeds of cereal plants, including wheat, oats, corn, and barley and rye. Foods that are made of from grains are bread. We have some tortillas, some cereal, rice, noodles, or pasta, some muffins. We have crackers, bagels, and popcorn. So it's important to note that some people confuse foods containing carbohydrates with grain foods. Carbohydrates are a nutrient in foods that give us energy. Carbohydrates can be found in fruits, in vegetables, in grains, and even dairy products. So while grains do contain carbohydrates, not all foods that contain carbohydrates are grain foods. Some foods that are often mistaken for grains include beans, which is a protein food, and potatoes, which is a vegetable. So while these foods do contain carbohydrates, they are not grain foods.
Excellent. Yes. So the corn as well. Corn is a starchy vegetable and potato is a starchy vegetable. Good. So remember that also whole grain kernel are made of the germ, the bran, and the endosperm. The germ is the smallest part of the grain that is high in vitamins and minerals. And the bran is the protective oxide layer that contains fiber. So think about like a kind of jacket. And the endosperm, which is the yellow part in the center, is the largest part of the grain, containing mostly carbohydrate. So some grains are refined grains, okay? When a whole grain is refined, the bran and the germ, the jacket, the oxide layer, are removed, which means that most of the vitamins and minerals and fiber are removed. So what is left is the endosperm. You see the yellow part in the center? That's what is left, which is mostly carbohydrate. And think about if you take off the jacket After the grain has been refined, some but not all of the vitamins and minerals are added back to the grain by using the enrichment process. That's the name. That's the how they act how they add back the vitamins and mineral enrichment process. So when you read the label, look for the food in the first ingredients list in the ingredient list has the word enriched. For example, when you read the label of a bread, you look for enriched with flour. That means that it was made of from a refined grain.
Okay.
So welcome Lucy Rivera, Maria Arroyo, Saimar as well. Welcome Lucero. Minky say it was good exercise. I have more dark vegetable like collard green, dark colors, and pepper. Good. Thank you.
All right. So, we should all aim to make half of our grain foods we eat each day whole grains. So, actually, my plate recommends that we eat 6 ounces of grains daily. But half of those 6 ounces, which is 3 ounces, should be from whole grains. So remember that whole grains contains all parts of the grain kernel. So it has the germ, the bran, the germ, those are not removed.
Mm-hmm. And choosing whole grains, okay, is important. Why? Because whole grain contains the fiber. It contains the fiber that we need. And let me show you here why it is important. The fiber and the vitamins, the fiber, for example, help us to reduce the risk of heart diseases and some cancers, and also help us to digest, to reduce the bad cholesterol, okay, and provide the sense of feeling the feeling of fullness, which may help to control body weight. Okay, the fiber in as well that we find in whole grains is a carbohydrate that cannot be digested, can be soluble or insoluble. Soluble means that dissolve in water, insoluble does not, but both are important for our health. So eating the recommended amount for most of the adults is that we need 25 grams of fiber every day on a daily basis, can help us to achieve a healthy weight and a healthy what? To be health, okay, to keep our health. So this is very important.
Okay, so there are a couple of ways to help identify whether or not a food is considered a whole grain. So the product name or description can provide a clue that the food may be a whole grain. So look for the word whole or 100% whole in the name or description of the product. So sometimes the product's name or description can be misleading. Always check the ingredient list to be sure that the food is whole grain. On the ingredient list, look for the word whole or 100% whole in front of the type of grain like wheat or rye. So to be considered a whole grain food, the first ingredient must be whole grain.
Yes, and some whole grains do not include the word whole in the product name or the description as well. So this include the brown rice, for example, and the wild rice, oatmeal, and popcorn. You're not gonna see the word whole. So when looking at packages of rice, look for the words brown rice, white rice, for example, and notice how those packages don't say the word whole. So even though don't say the word whole, brown rice or the wild rice are still considered whole grains. So remember, if you see the word enriched as in front of the grain, that indicates that it's a refined grain rather than a whole grain. And we have less fiber, vitamins, and minerals.
Okay, so some products label will say made with whole grains or contains whole grains. So this means that the food item contains whole grains, but the food is not necessarily considered a whole grain food. So it's important to know that if you haven't been eating a lot of whole grains and you want to start doing so, start slowly. Okay, and gradually increase the number of whole grains you eat so that your body can make the change to eating whole grains, and you're going to experience less constipation and you're going to feel better.
And many breads, remember, many breads are brown in color but are not whole grains. Okay, these breads are mostly made of from refined with wheat flour and colorings. So sometimes these breads are labeled like wheat bread, just like that, wheat bread. But this does not mean that they are from whole wheat, okay? So the only way to be sure a product is considered a whole grain is by looking at the ingredient list, okay? And the name of the product as well. And if you find the word whole in front of the grain type, then you are ready to go. Let me show you here some example of whole grain food. For example, you can find whole grain in the whole grain bread and buns, whole wheat pasta or noodles, most ready-to-eat cereals as well. You can find whole grain as well in brown, white rice, exactly like that, and oatmeal, whole grain barley.
Okay. Now, refined grain foods would include white bread and buns, most pastas and noodles, white flour tortillas, most corn tortillas, white rice, and pearl barley. All
Yeah.
right. So let's go ahead and have another little icebreaker that our participants can partake in. So we want to hear from you. I want to hear in the chat. So what would be a way that you might replace refined grains with whole grains? What would be a way that you can replace refined grains with whole grains? Anna, what about you? How would you be able to replace those refined grains with whole grains?
Yes, excellent. For example, you can do it by using oatmeal instead of the regular pancake flour that we used to eat. So, green your oatmeal and make your oatmeal flour for your pancakes. And now there is a way, you know. Also, if you're gonna use the regular flour of the pan for doing pancakes, you can add wheat germ, okay, and also to add some fruit to your pancake to make it, more rich in fiber. And Josefa say, good, whole grain help us to keep our weight and has healthy fiber. Margie Diaz, welcome. Omega, welcome.
Okay.
What about you guys? And Cher, what about you?
Yeah, well, I think that one way, what I'm gonna do to replace refined grains with whole grains, I think I'm gonna try doing the whole wheat pasta. So I think I'm
Excellent.
gonna try and replace that.
Good, excellent. Very important. Now, let's talk about ounces equivalent. The recommended amount of grain food to eat each day is measured in ounce equivalent. Before we talk about how many grain food to eat each day, let's talk about ounce equivalents, So the concept is the same as when we use two different measures that are equal. For example, 12 inches equal to 1 foot, 100 centimeters equal to 1 meter, 1 cup equal to 8 ounces. That's the concept of ounce equivalence. So now for the grains food, we use ounce equivalent is the amount of grain food that has about the same amount of carbohydrate as a slice of bread. That's what we use, okay, for ounce equivalent. The same amount of carbohydrate that you find in a slice of bread. So my plate tell us that 1 quart of our plate and meals and snack should be grains. 1 quart of the plate. So if you make 1 quart of your plate grains at the most and all your meals and snack, you should get the recommended amount for of grains each day. For most of the adult is 6 ounces, and half of that should be from whole grains, which it is 3 ounces, as Yesenia mentioned it. So at least of that should be whole grains. For kids, for example, we have here a table, 2 to 8 years of age. They need every day like around 3 to 5 ounces, equivalent every day. And half of that should be whole grain. And 9 years old and up, they need like 5 to 9 ounces equivalent every day. And half of that, like 2.5, should be whole grains, okay? Now, the following amount of these foods are considered 1 ounce equivalent. For example, as I mentioned, 1 slice of bread, 6-inch tortilla, 1 cup of ready-to-eat cereal, also half cup cooked rice or any pasta or noodle, half cup cooked cereal as well. is considered a 1 ounce equivalent. One small muffin, one small biscuit, 5 to 7 crackers, one small piece of cornbread as well, half English muffin, all of that. So look in the nutrition fat label, which gonna help you to determine if how much fiber it is in your food. Look for the word dietary fiber, okay? Underneath the total carbohydrate.
Okay, so foods that contain 20% or more of daily value are considered high in that nutrient, and foods with 5% or more grams of fiber are considered high in fiber. So, talking about good source of a nutrient, foods with 10 to 19% of daily value of a nutrient is considered a good source of that nutrient. So, a
Mm,
food that contains 10 to 19% daily value of fiber is considered a good source of fiber. So, look at your food labels. Do not assume that just because a food is a whole grain, that is automatically high in fiber, that it automatically has 5 grams or more. It's important to check the label to see how much fiber that grain food has. However, whole grain foods are healthy choices, even if they contain less than those 5 grams of fiber per serving. The vitamins and the minerals in the whole grains are an important part of your healthy diet. Also, remember that sugar, salt, and fat, you want to make sure that that is 5% or less, and look for the fiber, the vitamins, the iron and calcium to be 20% or more in those food labels.
excellent. It's,
Yep. Let's talk a little bit on about breakfast.
oh, yes. Mhm.
So breakfast is an important meal of the day. It gives your body energy and nutrients you need to be focused and energized throughout the day. Eating breakfast keeps you from getting too hungry between meals. This helps keep you from making unhealthy food choices later in the day. And adults and kids who eat breakfast, they tend to be better at work and in school. People who eat a healthy breakfast have healthier weights and cholesterol levels. Breakfast is also a good time to eat those whole grains that we're mentioning. And just a little warning about those breakfast cereals. Many breakfast cereals say made with whole grains, including those breakfast cereals that are really high in sugar. So when choosing a breakfast cereal, be sure to read that nutrition fact label. Choose cereals that are a good source of fiber and low in added sugars.
Very, very important. Maggie say, hola, estoy aquí. Minky say, switching regular pasta to whole wheat pasta. Yes, very important. Lucy say, estoy viendo. And Omega say, hello. Welcome, everyone. Pay attention to those important recommendations. So also, let me tell you that giving your children whole grains when they are really young, we help them to learn to like the flavor, the flavor of a whole grain food. If your family is not used to eating whole grains, change may be difficult because they are not used to the different flavor between the rich grains and the whole grain. So try these tips to get your family to eat whole grain food.
Mm. Add fruits and milk to whole grain cereals and oatmeals.
And also you can toast that whole grain and serve them with the small amount of jam or jelly.
Yeah, you can also bake with whole grains. So replace the all-purpose flour, in a baked good with a whole grain flour, and you won't lose the familiar flavor and texture of the food.
And you can add whole grain barley to your favorite soup and stews.
You can try whole grain crackers and cheese as a snack.
And also you can serve popcorn for a snack and try to choose the light in butter and salt.
Yep. You can also make oatmeal raisin or oatmeal peanut butter cookies for a sweet treat.
And also you can make buckwheat pancakes for breakfast or also oatmeal pancake.
Yep. Have your children also help you choose different whole grain products to try. So kids are more likely to try the foods that they helped picked out.
And also try different whole grains brand food. Your family may like the taste of one brand over another.
And also be a good role model for your children. So serve and eat whole grain foods every day.
Excellent.
Okay. Right. So what about breakfast We talked about not skipping breakfast, right?
Very important.
And I think we were gonna do a little icebreaker, right, Anna? We were gonna ask maybe like if anyone wants to share like a breakfast idea where they can incorporate whole grains.
Yes, so anyone have an idea to share with us how you can, incorporate whole grains in your breakfast, for example, which is a appropriate moment as well. Share with us in the chat. And as I say, for example, try to do oatmeal pancake, green the oatmeal and do whole grain pancakes, for example. That's one. Also, by adding fruit to your pancake, increase the fiber as well.
Mm-hmm. I think I know I've done it before, but maybe I should start doing it again. Overnight oats, where you add like the fruits in your oats, you leave it in the refrigerator and you eat it like a cold cereal the next day.
Excellent. Yes, really, really amazing.
All right. So we're going to be reading your comments. So definitely feel free to share with us what are some breakfast ideas that maybe you're going to try now to incorporate those whole grains. And we're going to go ahead and talk about what to remember when choosing whole grain foods. So we definitely want to make half of our grains whole.
And to determine if a grain food is considered whole, look for the ingredient list. Look for the word whole or 100% whole before the word wheat, for example, or any other grain. Welcome, Alexis. Yummy. Say Alexis. Josefa say oatmeal and use a whole grain bread for the sandwiches as well. Thank you so much, Josefa.
That's right. So you can also look at the package and look for the words whole grains or 100% whole grain in the product's name or description.
And also, regardless of whether or not a grain food is considered to be whole grain, you should choose grain food high in fiber, okay?
Sorry about that. We have the phone over there. So to determine if a food is high in fiber, we can look at the nutrition facts label. And products that have 20% or more of the daily value of fiber or 5 grams of fiber, those are considered to be high in fiber.
Yes, welcome, Ortega. Immediately say, I like hot oatmeal with blueberries, one of my favorites. And I'm going to try whole wheat pancakes as well. Excellent. And now let me share with you some storage tips. For example, the bread can be stored at room temperature until it grows mold. The rate at which bread grows mold will depend on the climate where you live. In more humid climates, bread mold faster than in dry climates, okay? So throw out any moldy bread. So look for those tiny green and white spots. Very careful, okay? Some muffin, bagels, and cornbread can also be stored at room temperature.
Yeah, that's right. So bread can also be stored in the freezer for up to 3 months.
And unopened packages of tortillas can be stored at room temperature, but once it's opened, store tortillas in the refrigerator.
Okay, uncooked grains, both refined and whole, they should be stored in a tightly closed containers in a cool, dry, dark place, such as the pantry, the refrigerator, the freezer. The whole grains have a shorter shelf life than refined grains.
And cooked grains as well are safe in the refrigerator for up to 5 days. After that, it's no more safe, okay? So thank you so much. Any questions so far? We have 5 minutes for you to ask any question and share with us as well. Also, you sit down with your family and review the classes later. And also you can send us your questions and we can answer you back right away. Excellent. Mhm.
Yep. And then we also do want to encourage you guys, remind you that the exercise link has been posted. We definitely do encourage you to be physically active. We want to remind you to drink plenty of water when you're doing so. Also, wear appropriate clothing that will allow you to, do the exercises. And if by any chance there are you have some physical limitations, do modify the exercise. But we definitely do encourage you to be physically active.
Yes, and the link that we provide, as I tell you in the beginning, is made from Quinnipiac Doctor Therapy Program. Okay, Quinnipiac student from the Doctor Therapy, Physical Doctor Therapy Program. So those exercises are different from the regular one that you find in media. Okay, so try it out. Either sitting version or standing version. Okay, and we encourage you to keep up with us. This program is going to end like around March. We're gonna celebrate with a food demonstration as well. So sit down with your family, send us the feedback so we can acknowledge you as one of the participants, okay? Excellent. And remember, when we start increasing um, the whole grain food in our diet, we need also to drink more water, okay? But if you increase the whole grains, but don't drink enough water, then you're gonna continue, suffering from constipation. So you need to increase the water, which is very important. So any question? Thank you so much for joining us, and remember